Ladies and gentlemen, Andre Norman, Day One Podcast, Securus Original, JPay Platform. For all my brothers in Florida, New York, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, Michigan, you know what I'm saying, Arizona, California. You know what I'm saying? We going global with this. And if I missed you, holler at me, I give you a shout out on the next one. But we are in the building.
Yes.
It is the podcast series. They keep looking for my first joint, Second Act. Second Act is done, y'all. That's in the can. You know what I'm saying? We're always going to create new stuff for you. We ain't going to be trying to repeat. We come with new guests, new flavor, new sauce. And today, all the way from Dallas, Texas.
Yes.
You officially from Dallas?
Born and raised.
Officially. What side of town?
East Dallas.
East Dallas is in the building.
Yes, indeed.
So I want to give a great introduction, great welcome for a local activist, true man of God, true man in the community, true man of the people, and he cares about you. That's why he's sitting here. I said, yo, we doing something. He said, I'm there. Brother Bruce Wayne.
Hey, man. Hey, I'm happy to be here. This is a God connection, man. Let me say that up front. So it's a God connection. I'm happy to be here, and I think this is important. So anytime you call when it has to do something like this, helping those that's behind, I'm here.
So tell the people about who Bruce Wayne is.
All right, my name is Antong Bruce Wayne Lucky. I'm an author. I run an organization called Urban Specialists. I'm the president of that organization. Another organization that I'm affiliated with, I'm the co-chair of, it's called Heal America. It's a large organization that seeks to fight injustice through weapons that we know can win: love, redemption, courage, justice, et cetera, et cetera. I'm on the board of an organization called Stand Together Foundation, who give hundreds of millions of dollars out each year to social entrepreneurs, change makers who are removing barriers for those that's at the bottom of society. And so that's who I am.
You was in the street in Dallas?
Yeah.
Dallas is a tough town.
Yeah, it is.
People are sleeping. Dallas is a tough town.
Oh, yeah, it is. You can't
It's
be
like
fooled.
It's like a northern city stuck down south.
Yes. Yeah,
It's kind of like Philadelphia down south.
Right. I grew up in Fraser Court Housing Project. My father was sentenced to prison when I was 9 months. He ultimately did 37 years. So I placed a lot of my mind power into school, right? So school became my refuge. I was an A on the road student, talented and gifted student, and I loved bringing good grades home to my grandparents because they were my primary caretakers. My mother worked long hours. And so I loved the praise that they give me. I was the smartest in the family. I was the favorite, too. So all my cousins that's going to listen to this, I stand on that. I was the favorite.
They locked up?
Yeah, they locked up. My grandmother and grandfather loved me. Rest they soul. But the love that they gave me wasn't no match for the neighborhood that I grew up in. The idea was survival. It was about being violent. It was about being tough. It was about being rough. So as much as I wanted to be the good kid who loved my good grades, I was snuffed by the neighborhood idea.
The environment got you.
The environment got me. And so and growing up, when I was growing up in Dallas in probably the late 80s, a lot of neighborhoods had adopted the Crip gang, right? Our neighborhood didn't have a gang. We didn't associate, but we would fight these dudes just for no reason, just like what you said. They lived one block down, mama in poverty, just like my mama in poverty, but it was ingrained in them that we were enemies. And so every day going to school, my survival depended on two things. When that bus left, and it often left us, didn't wait on us, it left, two things determined my survival: how fast I can run, how hard I can fight. You know what I'm saying? So each day it could be any one of them. You know, I outnumber one day I got to run fast. Some days that we had to stand there and fight. And that became my life, man, until my grades and everything started slipping. And so a lot of stuff happened. A lot of stuff culminated during that time. A lot of friends were getting shot, killed. And so me and a couple of my friends, right, after some episodes, Colors came out. You remember the movie Colors?
Yeah.
I seen it in the movie. And I understood that the enemy to all these people in my neighborhood who were claiming Crips were the Bloods, right? And me and some friends of mine, a couple of cousins, said, you know what?
We gonna be the Bloods.
We gonna be the Bloods. And there was no such thing as Bloods. And I said we were gonna be the roughest, toughest, ruthless, gang in the city, and it was we were just one neighborhood, and we became that. We became the roughest, toughest, deadliest gang in the city, and it grew.
And
it grew.
Texas is a long way from California.
Yes, it is.
I've been to Inglewood.
Yeah.
I've been to Compton. I've been in the 20s all the way up to Jesse Owens Park.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Been throughout Watts. And I know from Imperial Gardens down,
Right.
you know what I'm saying, all through, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying, all the way back. California had no understanding that dudes were picking it up like that.
Yeah. Wow. And we picked it up like that. Our neighborhood picked it up. We didn't get sanctioned in. We just said we were gonna be the Bloods because we were tired of fighting these others, and we didn't know we were kids. It grew. At the time, it was 50-1. 50 Crips to every one Blood, and so we were outnumbered. So we had to be ruthless. We were doing a whole bunch of stuff that, and for me, I wasn't the toughest, right? I wasn't the toughest, the baddest dude. I was just the more calculated. I was smart. So I can outthink all the rest of the people. I used to do stuff and set up stuff that people would never expect. That's what made us so like feared as we was, because we would get school buses. We do drive-by. But I'm not telling you.
Okay, no. We don't know about that part.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
So at the end of all the warring,
Yeah,
you end up in court.
I end up in court.
What did the judge give you?
The judge gave me, and I was expecting to go home. Let me say this. My daughter was born May 7th. It was May 21st. I was expecting to go home, character witness and everything. First felony as an adult. I should have went home. But the judge told me that I was a menace to society, right?
And by what you were telling me, you sound like he was right.
He didn't know that.
I didn't. No. Look, see, I'm not saying he knew that.
Yeah.
Based on what you're telling me,
Right.
somehow he got it right.
Okay.
Either he
Okay.
did or didn't.
Okay.
And listen, you talk about doing
Okay.
drive-bys on a school bus.
Yes, indeed. But check this out. He said I was a menace to society, but I want you to put in the mind frame of me, right? He said I was a menace to society, and I remember looking around in the courtroom saying, I thought he was talking to somebody else. In my mind, I said this. This is the conversation I had as he was sentencing me. I said, Judge, but you don't understand. I'm from East Dallas, man. You got to be tough. That ain't really who I am, but you just got to be that. You can't be soft. You can't be weak. You got to be this, but really that's not me. That's the conversation I had, but it never came out my mouth, right? And so for me, going into prison after he sentenced me, I wanted to understand how did I go, because it was the first time I slowed down. And so I wanted to understand how did I go from a talented, gifted student to this guy calling me a menace to society. And at the same time, I'm afraid to go to prison.
Why are you afraid to go to prison?
Because I had heard so much about prison. And I knew me going into prison as the leader, as one of the leaders of the Blood gang, I knew what that meant. You know what I'm saying? I knew that meant
You got smoke.
Yeah.
There's smoke waiting for you as soon as you pull up.
I got smoke. But think about what I'm saying, the duality of him saying you're a menace to society, and me in my original state saying, man, I don't even want to go to prison.
No. You not wanting to go wasn't part of the deal.
Right.
That wasn't one of his considerations.
Right.
I don't think he ever asked, hey, do you want to go to jail today?
Yeah.
Who's up for prison? I don't
Yeah.
think that's part of the prerequisite when he sentences
But
people.
I think the point that I'm trying to make is that oftentimes, especially in communities that we come from, when the name of the game is survival, I think a lot of kids who are naturally good, like you was a good kid, you were naturally good, but you encountered something in your environment, some stimuli that made you amputate who you were and adapt to the situation.
All day.
I think it's a lot of kids like that are talented and gifted, just like me, but they succumb to the influence,
environment,
to be something else, and they layer all this stuff. They give you the name. Well, I'm Lil D. I'm crazy this, and you become that. So for me, I had been in the far left lane on the freeway. In prison, when that judge sentenced me, I was in the far right lane, about to exit. So now I'm seeing the signs. Now I'm looking at stuff, saying, man, I can see how this idea led to this idea led to this decision. I'm starting to see that now. And so when I went into prison, right, Tupac had To Live and Die in L.A. You remember that CD?
Yeah.
And as I'm being real with myself, because I think what's different from me that I noticed is when that judge sentenced me, I became very self-introspective at that moment because I just had a daughter who I had promised not to be to her what my father was to me. So that became a reality for me. I remember looking at my mother and the disappointment that she had on her face as they were leading me out the courtroom, right? And so that particular moment, I said, I got to figure this out. How did this happen? Because it happened so quick. And so Tupac had a song, and you know Tupac was the prophet in 1996 for me. And Tupac had Live and Die in L.A. And the song went, learn about the West Coast, B's and C's. These other dudes, copycats. These the G's. And so for me, right, going into prison, I said, you know what? I know that we created our section of Bloods off watching colors. Like that's what idea came from. That gangbanging wasn't uniquely to Texas. It was something we picked up off the West Coast. And so I'm going into prison saying, as the leader, saying, I got to be real with myself. You know, I got to really I got to look in this mirror and address how did I make these decisions that landed me in this particular place. That's when I'm going into prison. And then I hear Tupac say that, and I'm like, oh, my goodness, if I'm going to be real with myself, I can't be no copycat. I'm a G, but I'm not a copycat. And so I had to address that, and I had to denounce that at that particular moment. I had to denounce my gang. I had to denounce gangbang because I had to do my balance sheet and say, how did this help me? How did gangbanging help me? How did adopting this idea help me? I went into prison asking myself that question, and I was willing to bend to whatever answer that I came up with. And
so when what did he give you?
7 years.
7 years. You walk out of the courtroom, your mother got her head down, your daughter crying, you're disappointed, you get in the van or the bus. I don't know if you go back to the tank or you go straight to the prison. What is that first day like with that 7 they gave you?
In prison or in the county?
First, when you came out of that courtroom.
Oh, when I came out of that courtroom, man, it was like it was a surreal moment. You know, it was a surreal moment for me. I felt like, it seemed like I started feeling again, and I felt like I had failed the game of life. I felt like I failed because I was being sentenced to prison. Like I missed some cues somewhere. I missed the jump shot. So I felt bad. I felt really bad. I was thinking about my daughter heavily because I was saying, damn, I was saying, man, my daughter is 2 weeks old, and I'm finna miss the most critical, formative part of her life. You know, that 3 to 4 year, 3 to 5, 0 to 3 years of her life, man. And that was preoccupying my mind, and with the fact of balancing that out with the fact that what I'm about to face going into prison, because at the time it was rocking and rolling. There was a lot of violence, there was a lot of gang stuff, and so having to deal with that and asking myself where I'm gonna stand on these issues. That's why I went into prison like that.
You go back to the county.
Mm-hmm.
You sitting there. Then the bus is coming.
Yeah.
You get that last phone call. Who'd you call?
I called my mother.
What you say to her?
I called my mother. We about to get shipped. You know, I'm about to go. You know, I don't know where I'm headed, but they shipping me.
What'd she tell you?
Keep your head up, pray. I know I'm the oldest of her kids, right? And so it hurt her. It broke her. I know it broke her.
What did it do for you?
Oh, it broke me.
How?
It broke me.
I need you to explain, because there are all these brothers in here tough, got their little chest swole up. They just came off the weight pit or whatever, doing their little calories.
Yeah.
Now you talking about I'm broken, like I ain't broke. What does that mean?
Yeah, but see, I think it means that I was honest enough with myself to address and face how I was really feeling and what I was going through. I think when you look at other brothers, because of this idea, this we got to be tough, they suppress that and they don't deal with it. They feel it, but they are taught to hide it. And so because they're taught that that's weak, that's a weakness. If you expose how you feel, if you feel that, you're weak. But I've learned that it's the opposite. It's courage and it's strength when you can address that stuff that society tell you that you ain't supposed to be like. So for me, I was being honest with myself, because I said to myself, I'm going to look in this stainless steel mirror and I'm going to be honest with what I see. And I'm going to correct the stuff that I don't like. And I was honest with myself about that. And that's different. That's different because, again, in prison, you have a bunch of guys who skirt that, who don't deal with that, who spend day after day lying to each other.
Perpetuating the same stuff that got them there.
Perpetuating the same stuff, lying to each other, telling lies to each other, trying to be something that they not, or something that, and I didn't want to be a part of that. I wanted to, because I told brother, even in prison, I said, Dre, I said, look, you brothers spend so much time trying to get out that you never work on what got you in. So you're going to have the propensity to come back because you never fixed that which brought you here. Because all of us who went to prison, we went there because there was something in us that made us make choices that led us to that pathway. And if you don't never address that, you don't never go back and retract and pinpoint what it was, what influenced, then you'll repeat that. You'll end up repeating it.
What was the hardest thing you had to face in your transition from owning up and taking ownership to being the new you?
People expected me to be the old me. That was the hardest thing I had to face. I had young brothers who were coming up to me saying, "Oh, gee, I put in work for you in the neighborhood. I put in work for the gang, for the set, And I would say, like, how much time you got? I got life sentence. How much time you got? I got 99 years. Not even understanding that they're going to be here for the rest of their life, for the majority of their life. And here I am standing here saying, I have abandoned this idea. I done pushed away from this whole gang idea that they pledged their life to. So you got to think about when I'm telling them I'm not there no more, the facial expression I never forget those facial expressions when I'm saying, hey man, I'm not there no more, and brothers looking at me like, huh? Not understand that it hurt me. It hurt me to my core because I felt somewhat indirectly responsible for the decisions they made, And so me saying, hey man, I ain't with that no more.
I opted out.
I'm good. And not saying it because of fear.
No,
I'm not saying it because of fear.
You made the decision based on logic.
Right. I'm saying
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
But now they got 100 years.
Right.
They can opt out.
Yeah. And I'm saying, man, if I spent my life banging and willing to die for something stupid, then I have to apply that same energy into living for something good. And so I chose to live for something good, to help these brothers.
So what are you doing? What are you doing now?
Right now, I have an organization, again, Urban Specialists, and our job, I've been saying it for the last 22 years since I got out of prison, that brothers, my mentor used to tell me this, the late, great Bishop Omar Jawar, that was my mentor in the free world, and my other mentor, I got to mention him, Willie Ray Fleming, that's in Texas prison right now. Those are my two mentors. But Bishop Omar used to say that if you change your character, then your characteristics will have a market advantage in this economy. From August of 2000, we've been saying that those brothers and sisters who've been written off by society is the answer and the solution to the problems of our community. That's a different dichotomy.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And I run those type of programs.
Right.
So what is your message to the brothers and the sisters who are there right now, who are the solution but don't understand how to tap in?
Listen, to any brother or sister that's listening to me right now where you sit is the opportune time for you to make them changes for when you get out. Don't wait till you get out to say, I'm going to do this or do that. You have to do it for where you sit. Use prison as your college. Prison became college for me. I just said prison was going to be my college. You have to use prison for your college right now where you sit. You got to educate yourself, and you got to change your character because that's important. Changing your character. And I can't promise you that you're going to have this success or that success, but what I can promise you, if you begin to address your behavior and begin to do stuff that's positive, begin to do stuff to become back affiliated with your family and your community, et cetera, doors will open for you. That's all I can tell you. Doors will definitely open.
I'm 100% with that. Two things.
Yes.
First, what are the best practices or the things they could tangibly do? You did 7, so you know what's in there.
Right.
Everything ain't in there, but for what's in there, What do you suggest they do?
While you sitting in prison, this is I'm gonna give you two things you can do. These two things: find a mentor in prison. Find an inmate, an offender that's really epitomizing and the embodiment of what you're trying to be in prison. Find that individual that's not participating in gangs, that's not participating in homosexuality, not smoking cigarettes, not smoking contraband, all that stuff. Start living right then. Find your mentor that's doing it to sharpen you. And then two, take advantage of every opportunity for education, counseling, et cetera, and do that for you. Don't do it for nobody else. Do that for you. If you do that and focus on yourself the entire time you're in prison, you have then prepared yourself for when you get released. Those two things is two things that I know for sure. If you do right now, find you somebody who is the embodiment of living right while they behind those bars, and then take advantage of every educational opportunity, trade, vocation that you can get so you get the skill sets for when you get out. Those are my two biggest things that you can do.
Now, for the two brothers, the one with the life sentence, one with the 99, who came up to you, what's your message to them?
Each one reach one, teach one. You have an obligatory duty to be an example to those younger brothers and those younger offenders who are coming into the world. You spend your time helping those individuals, being a leader, being a guide to those, and I guarantee you, your life will have. It's like what Viktor Frankl say: when you find your why, then you can do anything with your how. You know what I'm saying? You got to find your why. So your why has to become, how can I each one reach one, teach one? You begin to teach people, and your time, it'll flow and you'll feel good about doing it.
Ownership.
Yes.
You started something.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it turned out bad.
Mm-hmm.
Blessings, you able to turn it around.
Right.
And you're giving back. You're doing right.
Right.
Where's the ownership for the original?
Say it again.
The ownership of the original, where you were. I'm not trying to drag you back there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like I lived a life and I did some things. And what made my life right is I went back and I owned my stuff.
Oh yeah.
So what does that look like for you?
Oh man, I do a lot of stuff, not just in Dallas but across the country. In my neighborhood, I adopt my neighborhood. I do a lot of stuff, man. We'll be here all day if I tell you all the stuff that I do, but I always look for individuals who got our story, and I bring them into this fold and show them how to become a commodity in helping, going back and helping community. I show them their advantage. I'm known for showing brothers their advantage, their influence, and how to use your influence for good. Because oftentimes people think you can't do this kind of work that we do, and it's something else to it. But I show brothers that if you apply the principles, you stay focused, and you just like what we learned in the street, you stay down, you're gonna come up. Right. So I show brothers that.
Come up with a bid.
Yeah, you come up. I show brothers that. So I do a lot of stuff like around the country, in my community. I'm known for that. I'm known for each one reach one, teach one, till we all talk.
You're doing it now. Yeah. I mean, last time I seen you peeled off in your Bentley.
Yeah.
You said you had a couple of them.
Yeah.
I ain't mad at you. You know what I'm saying?
Because I like to show people that you can have Bentleys, you can have all that stuff if you do it the right way. I did it the right way. And I'm not saying my story is not a get rich, quick scheme. I'm saying I took the stairs.
But did you get rich?
Yeah, I did. And that didn't. But that didn't take. That's not minus the adversity that come with that. I mean, the struggle. It was point out. My house was getting repoed. My house was getting evicted. My car was getting I went through all that. And I don't take that from no brother. Any brother, if you coming out of prison, I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, peaches and cream. But what I'm saying to you, you got to look at the adversity. You got to look at the challenges as a part of the struggle. That's a part of it. So you don't shrink to it. You jump it. You look for it. And you hurdle that challenges because they're going to be there. But it's going to build character, and it's going to help you have better decisions as you become successful.
When your house was being evicted, your car was being repoed, and you're sitting there.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Yeah. And I had friends offering me everything illegal under the sun. But I had made a commitment to myself in prison that I never go back to that lifestyle, that I was changed, that I was a butterfly. And so I had to epitomize it. I had to walk that. And it was humbling, but I walked that. And in the end, God blessed me, like quadrupled my territory.
What was your toughest day in that space?
Being in a position where I couldn't provide for myself, that was tough, you know. And then I'm gonna tell you something, man. And I had friends, man, who were still in the streets, and they making $30,000-$40,000 a week, who I grew up with. And I remember I came to one of my partners and I said, man, they about to evict me, man. Can you just help me? That's how desperate I was. And you know what he told me?
What?
He said, if your hands ain't getting dirty, you can't get none of this. And that hurt me, man. That hurt me to the core. Because I was like, man, I'm trying to do right. And they were saying, only way we can help you if you do wrong with us.
Yeah.
And you know what that taught me? That don't nobody owe me nothing. And I say this, when you get out of prison, I'm going to tell you this. This is the best advice I can give you. Don't nobody owe you nothing. Don't come out of prison thinking somebody owe you. Everything you get, you got to get off your 2 back pockets. You got to do it for yourself. And if you do it for yourself, you're going to appreciate it. So don't come out here looking for somebody to give you a handout. Come out here saying, man, I'm going to start wherever I start, at the bottom, and I'm going to work my way to the top, man. And I promise you, you appreciate it more, man. And you don't have to owe nobody. And so that's the kind of lessons that I try to give people, man. Redemptive path forward.
Nah, I'm looking. I can see your eyes.
Yeah. That's a good book too, man.
It's a good book.
Yeah, it's a good book. It's a definitely good book.
Tell me about
it. It's chronicling my journey. It was I dedicated to my mentor, who I met when I got out of prison, Bishop Omar Jawar, the late great Bishop Omar. I got a foreword by Deion Sanders, my brother. You know, me, him, and Omar, we was the big three. But Omar passed last year, rest his soul. But this a chronicling journey and a blueprint of my rise, right? You know, coming from nothing. I don't spread nothing. I'm very honest, transparent, and I guarantee you, anybody that read this book, they gonna find something applicable to their life. They gonna find some meaning there. They gonna laugh, or they gonna say, "Man, I went through that." This book right here, I wrote it just like Make You Wanna Holler, Nathan McCall. When I read that book locked up, Nathan McCall, his book opened my eyes in a way. This brother away in Virginia, but I can identify with his struggle and what he's going through, everything. And that was the only book that I wouldn't lend to nobody. And my publisher said, this the 21st century, Make You Wanna Holler. So this book is written like that, man.
You know something? My book, sitting right there.
And I read your book too.
You know what made me write my book?
Yeah.
Makes Me Wanna Holler.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No. I read his book. Nathan McCall. He came out with a second book. I didn't like the second book.
I ain't like the second one either.
The first book, I can tell you the whole book.
Yes.
I read his book.
Yes.
I was in Essex 1 in Walpole Max Security Prison. When I finished his book, I know exactly where I was standing. And I went up to my cell, and I got a yellow legal pad.
Wow.
And I started writing that book right there.
Wow. When I was reading your book, I could see that, man. I said, wow, this is crazy. Just looking at some of the stuff that you went through, it's the same stuff, you know?
Oh.
It's the same stuff, man.
We just live 4 blocks up the street.
Yeah, man, same stuff, man. But, yeah, Nathan McCall was a great influence on me, his book. So I want this book and your book and other books to be that for the brothers that's in prison.
But we can put your book right here.
On the tablet. Oh, yeah.
What would you thought if you'd had this inside?
Man, if I had this.
You could put books on there, trainings on there.
Wow.
Podcasts on there, video visits on there.
Honestly, I think this is what gonna change the game for prisons all over the country. When you can give brothers access to this kind of information, your book, that they can identify, they can readily identify with, this is gonna change the game. This right here is gonna change the game in terms of it, because they need that education. Like for me, I read over 1,000 books in prison. I met this young. Well, she wasn't young. She was old. This old white lady. She was the librarian. She was the volunteer. We became friends, right? And we would talk about life. And we became so much friends that whenever they got new books, she would call me out first and say, pick through these books before I put them out on the unit. And I would pick those books out. And, man, she taught me some valuable lessons, man. You know, she taught me some valuable lessons that I apply today. Securus doing it with this. This gonna change the game, because I'm telling you, When brothers had the opportunity to sit down and whether listening to it or whether reading stuff, it's gonna expose and expand their mind just like it did for us. It's gonna expand them. Man, you know what I want to ask you?
What that?
At what point in your incarceration that you realized you wanted to do something different and what that looked like? What point?
The point I realized I wanted to do something different was my first week.
Yeah.
I went to the unit team, and the caseworker told me about GED, forklift, this degree, that degree. She told me all that stuff.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I got back to the block, and the homies were like, yo, we don't rock like that.
Right.
We do this. We off into this lane.
Right.
That lane ain't for us.
Wow.
And I wanted to do it the first week, but I didn't because for the crowd. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have enough fortitude or understanding to stand on my own.
Right.
So I went down that path, and it was probably 6.5 years later when I woke up in 2.5 years in solitary when I finally had the opportunity / courage to follow through on my original thought. So people hear me say I had my epiphany in 91. No, I had my epiphany in 85.
Wow.
You see, it wasn't even an epiphany. It was just clear facts.
Right.
It wasn't even, listen, the epiphany came because I didn't go with the facts. The facts were, yo, bro, get this degree, get this diploma, get these things. And it made sense to me right then. I didn't need an epiphany.
Right.
I'm glad God spoke to me.
Yeah.
But I had the caseworker gave it to me so clean and so clear.
Yeah.
That wasn't the problem. It was telling the homies that I wanted to be educated.
Right.
That was the problem.
Right.
So when I had my epiphany 6 years later, it wasn't that I didn't know.
Right.
I just got brought back to where I originally left. I walked past that.
Yeah.
So my moment came my first week with the case manager.
Yeah.
Sherry Elliott, I know her name. Sherry Elliott down at unit team was like, I hate to see your hair. You got a ton of time.
Wow.
She walked me through, and everything she said made perfect sense.
Wow.
And had I started that day, I'd be 10 light years ahead of where I am right now.
Man, you know what? That's good stuff because I can identify with that. And you made me think about a particular story that happened for me in prison. We had this deal called the Circle of Kings, right? And he was our brothers who was sharpening each other, iron sharpen, iron counter mentality, right? And I was on a minimum security, 20 minutes away from my house. I was getting visits regularly from my family, but we were learning and teaching at such a level, right, that the unit chaplain came to see us on a minimum security and asked us would we go to a maximum security to teach. Because it was at the explosion of gangs. There was a lot of stuff going on. And I remember, I said, let me think about it. Is it going to help my parole? He said, nah, it's not going to help your parole. It's helping those brothers. And I said, let me think about it. Give me 3 days to think about it, man. I went back on my bunk, and I was like, God, what are you doing here, He put me in a position, right? In some kind of way, I said, I'd do it. I came back, told the chaplain, yeah, I go. And he sent me to Beat 01, tough unit in Texas. And I remember, man, going over to that unit, and I was delivering the message because I was speaking, right? And so everybody, whenever I would speak, they started hearing brothers were falling off the wings. They was trying to come hear me speak, right? This ex-gang blood who bringing the heat. And I don't know if I was just naive, but I was bringing it because I was addressing everything, right? And I remember this young brother. This kind of became the cornerstone of why I do what I do. I remember this young brother had approached me because he had heard about me speaking, and he said, brother, I need you to help me. At the time, I was teaching Islam. I was an imam. And he said, brother, I need you to help me get back in the community. They kicked me out. And I said, why they kick you out? He said, because I was engaging in homosexuality, but I'm done with that, and I need help. And so I said, okay, well, I gave him some advice. I said, ask God forgiveness, forgive yourself. If you feel that's wrong, and then don't do it again. And I said, meet me down at service. So after service, right, we go into this room, and I'm new to this unit, and we're in the back of the chaplain, no guards, and I'm in there with like 15 guys. Every last one of them had life sentences. This brother had 4 life sentences. This brother had 3.99, and here I am with 7 years, right? And I had a little brother to come in there, and the little brother, I told the little brother what to do. And after he did it, they were looking at this brother. If looks could kill, he'd be dead, right? And the brother, one of the brothers said, he got so angry. He said, this is what really got me out of religion. He got so angry, he said, the Quran said homosexuality is punishable by death. We should kill you. This is what he told the brother. And it was tense. And he said it again. And I'm realizing how ridiculous he sounds. After the third time, I stood in front of the brother, and he was shaking. He must have knew what they can do. He was shaking. And I said to the brother, I said, and I'm new. I said, if the Quran say kill him and you're a believer, kill him. And he looked confused. And then I raised my voice again. I said, if the Quran say kill him, kill him. He looked confused. Everybody confused. And I said it again real loud, right, standing in front of the brother. And the brother was so confused, right? He didn't know how to respond to that. See, the strong rule the weak, but the wise rule them all. You feel me? And so I said, brother, God is forgiving, oft merciful, most merciful. Only God can condemn and da-da-da. That's not your job, you know. If this brother want to help himself, he should have the ability to help himself. And at that moment, it was just an awkward stir, and then the rest of the brothers broke rank, and they embraced the brother because it was the first time they realized how ridiculous the doctrine was, right? The fanatics, and that day, man, I felt so good standing up for this brother and understanding that redemption and transformation has to be available for anybody who seek it. That the problem with us today is that we condemn people based upon our judgments and how we look at stuff. We condemn. We come from a condemnation point of view. But redemption and transformation is possible when we begin to see that not only can we hold people accountable, as Bell Hooks said, but we also have to be able to see their capacity to transform and change. That's more important than anything, bro. And so from that day forward, I said I wanted to spend my life showing that redemption and transformation is possible, that I'm not defined or confined by any label that people put on. I left prison saying that I was an ex-offender, and ex-offender is going to be the reason why I become successful. And the ex-offender is the reason I'm successful, because I don't hide that.
So in closing, because I want to follow that up, there are people, because I did the last series, and we just doing information, we building. Right. It was all good, great reviews, and I started thinking, who did we leave out? Because I subscribe to the alpha males, I subscribe to the tough guys and the people who do all that stuff. I said, well, who did I leave out? I said, man, there's people in jail, man, who were struggling with depression. There's people in jail who were struggling with being assaulted. There's people in jail who were just struggling just because they locked up. Because I took to it well. Yeah. It was like throwing a fish in some water for me. It was nothing. I tell people I never had a bad experience in jail other than being there. Because I've been locked up before I was locked up. So being left alone to me is nothing. I've been neglected since I was a baby. So I said, who am I forgetting? Who do I? And I said, well, dude, all the dudes who are struggling, Dre, all the sisters who are struggling with depression, with mental illness, I'm saying, with just being in fear, being in jail. Everybody can't be a boss. Everybody can't be in a lead car. Everybody can't have the keys. There's people walking around in fear every day, man, not knowing if they're going to get attacked, they're going to stress out, or today's their day. So I need you to give a message, man, to the brothers and sisters, man, who are struggling. Not the bosses, not the shot callers, not the warriors and the gladiators, not the soldiers, to the people, man, who are just in there struggling, man. I want you to let them know what you think of them.
And before I say that, I want to say what you're doing right here on this platform, what's Securus, the Securus original. I want you to know that this is for them. This right here, what we doing, is for that demographic of people that you talking to, because you got to understand that they ain't never had access to this. So your platform and what you doing is for those individuals. This is gonna help. This is gonna change. So I don't want us to be confused by that. I want to thank you, brother, for allowing this platform to happen, because I know this is going to address those brothers and sisters who are struggling mentally. And for those brothers and sisters who are struggling mentally, I would say this: faith played a big part in my transformation. You have to develop your faith and have faith and live by that and seek the help that you need. If it's some help that's being offered on your unit, seek that help and seek that help wholeheartedly, because it's not over unless you say it's over. You can't give up unless you give up. So seek your help. Don't give up. Stay positive. Stay focused. And God going to change some things for you and going to make a way. You not forgot. You not the only one. If somebody else went through it and they made it, you can make it too.
There's no better words to close on. You know what I'm saying? And with that, Bruce Wayne.
Thank you.
Andre Norman, Securus Originals, here on JPay. Day one. We'll see you on the other side. Hey, Brother Bruce, this ain't even really necessary, but we've been telling everybody.
Yeah.
If they reach out, we'll pull up and come see him.
Yeah.
I already know you're going in.
Oh, yeah.
But if you reach out, we'll pull up and we'll come see you in real time.
Yes.
And have this conversation on the block or on the yard.
Yes. I love to come to any prison with my brother. I would love to come to any prison with my brother and just pour and just help and just
give my tablet back. That's not out to me.
He just gave me this.
No, that's sign out to me.
Okay.
Y'all know how that goes. Don't be losing, giving your tablet away. It's my
yes,
PIN
indeed. Number. Any prison, we coming. Andre Norman, day one, pep talk.
Bruce Wayne is in the building.
Yeah.
Peace.